What's happening, sports fans? How you doing? I am Kendrick, the sports guy. Good day to you. And is there some tension brewing between Cowboys teammates Malik Hooker and Michael Parsons? Could be, because Malik has something to say on the podcast. We're going to talk about that in this segment. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click that follow button. Dallas Cowboys open training camp on July 24th in Oxnard, California, and two defensive teammates, Michael Parsons and Malik Hooker, there could be some tension when they land. Malik was on a podcast recently. It was a former NFL wide receiver Keyshawn Johnson's podcast called All Facts, No Break. And Keyshawn would ask Malik, how does he feel about these players podcasting and doing all those things? And Malik would have something to say about it. And in particular, he would talk about his teammate, Michael Parsons. Here's some sound for that. We're going to come back and I'm going to give my thoughts on it. Again, here is Malik Hooker talking about Michael Parsons.
I don't have a problem with it. I feel like a lot of these guys, though, they just get on there sometimes and they start falling into the part of, just saying stuff, for the clicks and, having people to come view and stuff like that. So, I don't have no problem with it. My thing would be, though, for Micah, my advice would be for Micah would be, just make sure we're all right, and being where your feet are. Because if we're at work and, the run game's terrible, but you're doing a podcast every week and, the run game is terrible, then, what are you really caring about? Are you caring about the crowd that, is watching your podcast? Are you caring about the success of our team and the Super Bowl that we're trying to reach? See what I'm saying? So, but also, a lot of people got to remember, Mike is young. He's still trying to find his way. He's still trying to grow into who he's trying to be. So I give him grace, honestly. Like, I always hear people say stuff that he done said on the podcast or something silly he done said. But people got to remember, like, Mike is still a big kid. Mike is still a big kid. And, you can't fault a big kid for, trying to expand as well as experiencing still stuff that they ain't really been through. Because Mike only been in the league 4 years.
Well, Parsons didn't let his teammate slide. He would respond to that sound on that podcast. He would post a response on X, formerly known as Twitter, but that tweet has now since been deleted. Parsons would say, and I quote, "Just wish you said this to me, but instead on some podcast, and you got my number, family. Malik Hooker, and you are my locker mate." That was what Parsons would post on X, formerly known as Twitter, but it's since been deleted. Now, Parsons has been doing this podcast since 2022, I believe, or 2023, on Bleacher Report, and now he has actually signed a new deal with Bleacher Report as well. His podcast is called The Edge. Again, he started that back in 2023. Then he signed a multi-year extension with the site to continue producing his podcast. And I've listened to Michael's podcast, and I think I kind of get what Malik Hooker was saying. I don't think he was throwing shots at him. I've listened to his podcast, and sometimes I think Michael would get on there and just be saying stuff, and then he would get sensitive about when someone would respond to whatever he said on his podcast. My thing is this: if you're gonna be doing these podcasts and you say something that some people may find like, "No, what are you saying?" You can't take it personal. That's part of the game. It's part of being in front of the microphone. And if you're gonna do it, you do it. Now, I do agree with Hooker. Now, if there are some issues with the defense and we having issues, I think you should be focusing all that on making sure we straight, instead of worrying about, producing a podcast. But, I don't think there's a wrong answer here, but I think Hooker was just trying to give him some advice, some veteran advice. I don't think he was taking a shot at Parsons. I think he was just being honest. And Keyshawn asked the question, as far as having your number, why would he have to call you about a response that someone asked him a question about? He had to call you to say, "Hey, can I say this?" before that? He didn't even know the question was going to be asked. So how was he supposed to? Why was he supposed to call you? So I don't know. Again, there's always something with this Cowboys team. Again, me personally, I don't think it's a big deal, but we definitely will see in a few weeks when training camp opens up in Oxnard, California. So I'd like to know what you guys think about this. Was Malik Hooker right? Or was it a little shot at Michael Parsons, and was Michael a little bit sensitive about it? I'd like to know your thoughts. Make sure you leave a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click that follow button. I'm Kendrick, the sports guy. We will see you on the other side and on the next report. I am out. Peace.